Hey guys, so today I'm gonna talk about kind of like the opposition to Roe v. Wade. Um, and it all started literally right as it happened. Um, and it's kind of weird because at the time, and Roe was considered a very big win for feminism. Um, because it was. And feminism had a lot of opponents. So, like I told you last time, and I'll say this again, I'm gonna be biased this time. This kind of warning. I don't like this person. I'm gonna talk about, but I know about her. I'm also I side with feminism personally. So if I sound like unhappy or nasty or something, I apologize. I'm pro feminism, and a lot of the things that these people did stopped helping people. But a lot of those issues that second wave feminism had, they just never came to terms with. So it all starts with kind of starts with the Equal Rights Amendment. Before we start attacking uh, Roe v. Wade, which was supposed to be this really good thing. Um, and feminists, there was this thing called consciousness raising back in the 60s. You would just kind of sit in a circle and smoke probably cigarettes, maybe you do drugs, I don't know, and you talk about your experiences. And after the 50s, where a lot of women were treated really poorly, they ended up talking about it in these consciousness raising sessions, and they found out that they were being abused. Um, they found out that they were just being medicated, and they found out people weren't treating them properly, men, organizations, their jobs, all that crazy stuff. So that's how feminism kind of like took off because of these consciousness raising sessions. So you just sit and talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So you get really cool things. Women just so that's when you start defining things like the patriarchy, which had always existed, but now we had a term for it, and we had feminism, which helped us like theoretically combat the patriarchy, which is cool. But so we get to this part where we have the Equal Rights Amendments, which got pushed to um, get voted on as an amendment, so it would have taken 10 years. And it was actually doing really good until Phyllis Schlafly comes in. And Phyllis Schlafly was today she was Republican. I think she might have been Republican, but like more on the conservative side. So she was conservative, Christian, and evangelical woman, really highly educated, but she could not get to where she wanted to be. She actually one of the um, one of the organizations that she was a part of. She was the head of like this women's organization for her political party, and she ended up doing really well, but she got voted out eventually, and she couldn't get power within the Republican Party. I'm pretty sure it's the Republican Party. If not, I apologize, and I'll let you guys know. But so yeah, so she was frustrated because the only reason that she couldn't actually like gain more power was because she was a woman, and like that is like a legitimate thing. So you would think that she would find comfort in feminism, but she did not. She actually just started doing grassroots campaigning, which is always a really great way to campaign. And she got a lot of Southern evangelical women, regular evangelical women, against feminism and against the Equal Rights Act. She claimed that it was erasing white people. She claimed that feminism was attacking stay-at-home moms. That there was nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom, and there wasn't. But like I said, one of the problems with second wave feminism is that there was this huge push to make sure that women were freed, and but they didn't. There was a lack of recognition that feminism means you get to choose what you want, and so women could choose to stay at home, and that's cool. We want that, if that's what they feel like they need to do, they could do it. But if a woman wants to work, she should get equal pay, and things like raising a child should not hold her back. So feminism were for advancing things like the a daycare system where they could help educate early kids, early childhood, like toddlers and before school, to help the women out so they could go to work. But Phyllis Schlafly decided that the best way to oppose that would be, say something like, well, they're going to teach them communism, and we can't have communism because this is America. We're a democracy, which is the opponent. Gay people aren't allowed because gay people aren't allowed because they can't make a family, so they can't help further the race. Those are things that Phyllis Schlafly would say. Um, Not necessarily the race. She wasn't like, she was racist. A lot of people were. A lot of people still are. But it wasn't like, she wasn't like saying the quiet part out loud. She was saying the quiet part quietly. And so people could try to debate her. She made them very frustrated. But she would always appear calm, collected, and composed, which is really interesting. Um, so yeah, she was one of the biggest opponents of Roe v. Wade, and started this like religious fundamentalism. She actually helped Ronald Reagan get elected. She was part of the reason why there was like this huge conservative majority, and I'll talk about this later as well. But the 70s and 60s were relatively open to gay people, and it got really homophobic in the 80s, partly because of Reagan and other things, AIDS, all this stuff existing. Well, Phyllis Schlafly was slightly happy about that. There were also campaigns. The person who was Roe ended up like writing this book about how she ended up being a born again Christian. She has a crazy life. I bet there's a biography out there. I'll look it up and see if I can put it in the tags for y'all, if you're interested. So yeah, but so when I say like she was against gay people, double down on like this homophobia. There was this other woman. There's a lot of other women, a lot of conservative women, and they all kind of stem from this grassroots organization and the grassroots campaigning that Phyllis Schlafly did. One of the women I know my name is Anita Bryant, who basically wanted to get all gay people fired from their jobs. And they kind of succeeded in Florida, and they were succeeding over the country. There's this movie called Milk that kind of talks about it. It's also about Harvey Milk. This is a really good movie. If you don't like gay people and you don't like watching gay people be in relationships, don't watch it. Sorry, you're also probably on the wrong channel. But yeah, so things like that happened. So when you take all that into consideration, the Republicans, which eventually officially became like our more or less currently today Republicans Democrats sort of situation, ended up slowly rolling back Roe v. Wade, to make it less and less and less and less and less. So then you get these like, instead of saying children are only kids and people when they breathe in their first breath, you get no, a fetus is a person. It isn't necessarily true, but it doesn't matter because that's what you're going to say. You go, oh, it's against my religion. And you use freedom of religion as an attack on other people, saying, but my religion says this, and so you have to listen to it. And a lot of things like that happened. Oh, you can't be gay because my religion says. So you get a lot more of the opposite of those things starting to happen. And then you have like things like the 90s. It just kept getting rolled back and back and back until we get to where we are. Which I don't know 100% about the cases and all that other stuff. But it was always about privacy and family planning, and they took that away because of their opinions, specifically to Roe. So this is going to be my last video. But yeah, so and we see a lot of people similar to Phyllis Schlafly. Marjorie Greene Taylor is probably one of them. I think she's slightly more radical and loud, like physically loud, and screaming at you violent. She's not as composed as Phyllis Schlafly was from what I see, because she'll just go out and attack. Oh man. I think Lauren Bulbert's probably like her too. I probably butchered her last name, so I apologize. So not she's gonna watch this video. But yeah, so things like that, people like that, and of course there's men involved, but they're not as inherent. They're not as important, Because, like, second wave feminism theoretically failed because Phyllis Schlafly was successful in repealing the Equality Act. I'll probably end up talking about it later, which means she'll come back. But they were successful at flipping some states. They were successful at convincing people about communism, about how women shouldn't be working, about all these things. She was a successful opposition to feminisms. And obviously, long-term wise, she was a successful opposition to Roe v. Wade, which was one of feminism's only win other than like waking women up. And I'll talk more about feminism in general later. And concentrating all of this stuff, I'll probably talk again later. But the cool part about Phyllis Schlafly is that like she was a woman who did all this stuff, and like you could argue that she was a woman attacking women's rights, but she also had like this immense amount of power, and she also like had like Anita Bryant and all these other people who can like hone in on this power, and so like she, you know, for though it's bad, but like in a look at like feminism, it's actually really cool. I still hate her. Like personally, I absolutely despise her. A lot of what we see now, like I said, is coming from what she did. So next week I'll talk about something different. Probably something gay, maybe translated. I haven't decided. I don't know. We will find out. I'm also gonna start school soon, so my videos might be a bit more sporadic. Because I'll have to be studying and stuff. But I will try to put one out every week. Keep up with reading to help inform you guys. Okay. Y'all rest in love. I care about you. Y'all have a lovely week. See you next time.